Sumit just asked, how tired are you guys of technology so far? So guys, I think, we have a great session. At least I know that this is a stellar panel that I have, where we're going to talk about how technology can be translated into a business impact, the challenges it face, and not seeing technology in isolation. And it can be the AI or Gen AI or digital transformation, whatever you're talking about. And how do we really make it work for the business? So I think, I have a great panel, and before wasting any time, I think we'll probably dive straight into it. So, Sumit, my first question to you is that, Freecharge sees volumes and volumes of data. Now, how do you balance the automation with the touch point, with fraud detection and everything else? What has been your experience and how you guys have gone the journey there?
Okay. So from Freecharge perspective, I'm saying, so we have a lot of data, as you said, right? So the way we see it is that if it is for an end customer which is small in size, in terms of if you're talking to small set of very large customers, they need a warm body to talk to. They need somebody they can call up late at night and those kind of things. So whatever technology we put, that does not work, frankly, right? But when you're talking about large number of customers, large number of merchants, shopkeepers, and everything, the only way to work is through analyzing that data, finding out what's the best use case that we can bring out of it, and better their experience. So to answer your question, basically, it's a mix, right? If you're talking about very niche areas, go for warm bodies. There are people in India, if you come here, you would have seen that sometimes there is a lift operator who's sitting there. There's a person who's just checking your car, right? That won't happen in any foreign countries because that labor is not so cheap. For us, it is cheap. So we can get some people there. But when it's large amount of data, you should always talk about automation, hyper-automation, and those kind of things. So we've done that in fraud detection. We have done in identifying KYC documents. We have seen how to onboard new merchants fast. We have also done a lot in analyzing transactions and finding out what next to do in terms of long-term strategy.
Dibyanshu, at Hexalog, you deal with, the integration of the legacy system with automation. So what is your playbook? How does the legacy system integrate with the new automation tools like AI or anything else? What have been your observation?
See, what we are trying to do is what we have got as a business, the area in which we operate. It's basically a Contessa where we are trying to fit a Mercedes engine. Doesn't work, right? So, and what becomes more important, and like Sumit also said, that everybody needs a warm body to talk to. And the way this entire cross-border, logistics, supply chain has always worked, it has been very relationship-driven. It's been driven by the CHAs, it's been driven by the freight forwarders, and then your agents, etc. What we are saying is we are going to replace them, which we are not. What we are doing is we are telling you that we will make them more efficient, so that when there is a handshake happening between perhaps your freight forwarder and the CHA, you are aware that what is that handshake, because it's your working capital sailing mid-sea, which you have a complete information blackout about. So I think the most important aspect there, Gyan, is that how can we first of all solve for those information blackouts and create an information symmetry. Until and unless that starts to happen between whatever modern systems we are bringing in, and wherever regulators come into picture, like the DGFTs, the RBIs, etc., where your bill of entries are going to be processed through, it becomes very important that at least the information is passed without any prejudice, and that is processed in accordance. I think that's my view.
Dushyant, at Hosteller, it's a hospitality business, which is very, very touch and feel. So what has been your experiments with automation and technology and AI? How are you, leveraging that, balancing the touch points?
So customers in India behave differently, right? The data, we always used to mention the Indian data is very raw. And in hospitality, the people give their reviews, right? So people used to say that road acha nahi tha, khana kharab tha. Okay, kind of feedback the Indians are used to give, right? And it's very difficult for any system to understand that type of raw data. So we build our own system that we translate any type of review coming in any language to the English, and then the classification and sentiment analysis applied on that reviews, and then it will assign to the right group of audience or the teams which need to work on that one. So that was a very great problem which we used to face. We work across 70 plus properties in India, and we will reach around 100 plus property, which is largest in India. And we get thousands of reviews every day, which is difficult for any human to process at a time. And we cannot scale our team also proportionally. So earlier we have around one person for 5 to 10 properties. Currently, one person is managing 25 properties. Using the automation, using the technologies, whatever things are happening, okay, translating the any type of review in particular language, analyzing, classifying, and assigning to the right teams to make sure it take the actions, and the loop is closed so that we don't get the repeated issues again and again. So that was the automation we applied, and which helped us to reduce the cost also and improve the efficiency also. So these are the things we are trying to implement and optimize.
Perfect. So, Shrikrishna, over to you, right? So you sit at the helm of advising guys on digital and cyber security. Now, how do you actually go about advising them for the compliance and all those cyber security and stuff? Is that something so real, and how do you go about doing that?
80% of India's population speak about AI. Okay? Whereas only 10% are actually using AI. Why there is a difference? Because everyone thinks ChatGPT is something which is AI. And you will get all your solutions in ChatGPT. Then came the realistic world of DeepSeek. The moment people heard about DeepSeek, the first thing everyone did was they installed DeepSeek on their mobile phones or laptops. Cyber security experts were very kind enough and intelligent. They disclosed the pen test report of DeepSeek 3 days later. Right? What was the outcome was, whatever have you downloaded, or whatever have you, the moment you download DeepSeek on your mobile phones or on your laptop, your entire replica of your laptop was being taken out in China. What we recommend our clients is, make sure you are rightly using AI, right? It is across the business, what data you are looking after. Ensure personal information is rightly being stored, right? It is encrypted as well. Because today a lot of AI companies, they speak about compliance on GDPR, compliance on CCPA. Hardly there are any companies who are speaking about compliance in DPDP, right? We in India, and companies registered in India, we should not be concerned about GDPR regulations. We should be more concerned about our own Digital Data Privacy Act regulations. Second is, we also consult on, see, while we are using AI, there is a lot of API integration which is happening across the business. So are these APIs tested? Because it is very important for you to know what is the business flow of the data which is coming in and going out of these AI platforms. And the third is how, like there was application, the concept called as application as a service, right? So now there is one more concept of application and analytics as a service, right? Analytics is integrated in AI itself. So how the data protection norms, data security norms, they are being considered, proper vulnerability assessments, application security assessments are being done on.
Which is that, what is the single biggest tech investment you have done? And what do you think which needle have they moved in your business? Not from a tech perspective, but from business perspective. What needle has they moved? And okay, Sumit.
So we were discussing just before this meeting, and they said that don't go into deep tech, huh? Talk about business only. So I think two main things I would like to talk about. And just saying that there was a cloud infrastructure that we moved in Amazon, where there's a concept called EKS, which means that you can actually scale up and scale down your infra on demand based on what your need is, right? Generally, what happens to all companies is that you don't know when the traffic will arrive, right? And this auto-scaling has been a concept for a very long time, right? So, but these new concepts help you save a lot of money. So we have been able to save around 20 to 30% of our cloud cost after moving here. So we invested something without having a downtime. We were able to move there, and that was a big one for us as such. Generally, from a payments industry, one thing that we are all struggling with is that fraudsters move faster than us, right? You build a feature, you launch it. By the time you have launched it, in 2 days, the fraudsters are checking out how to break it, right? So for us, the other investment that we have done is really about doing that ML, AI, and everything, finding out patterns, recognitions, and everything, so that we are not late to the party before everything else has happened. And there's a lot of investment there. So that is about the AI ML piece that we have done.
I think we are a fairly young company to kind of also, put that out. But I think one thing which I and personally the team at Hexalog believes in, that we don't want to reinvent the wheel. I think there is some obsession where we always say tech has to be insourced, right? Tech has to be insourced. You have to build everything inside the company. But I think when you have to move at a fast pace, when you have to kind of catch on to the growth matrices, right? So it becomes important that where is that agility coming from? So can you outsource versus insource? And we said that maybe it will not be our most lovable product, but it will be our most viable product, and it will come at agility, it will come at speed, and it will give me more feet into the streets, right? So I think from that perspective, when we were building out Hexalog as the orchestration platform, the MVP was completely outsourced. And then the vision of our CTO and co-founder came in, and then we were like, and I think the best part there again is that the thought process is still the same, that we don't want to reinvent the wheel, because until and unless you have an activity which can be taken care by, let's say, 10 people or 15 people or 20 people, the cost of development is still going to be much more than that. So I'm not dissuading, perhaps saying that, you don't kind of go ahead and build products out, but I think it has to be with the pragmatism of business in terms of what kind of returns it's going to bring in. So I think that's one way.
That's where most of the businesses struggle with trying to quantify the impact. Okay.
Travel and hotel industry is very price sensitive market, especially in India, right? And every time.
Well, I mean, maybe for the hotel, yes, please go ahead.
So, because we are very conscious of 500 rupees or 1000 rupees, how much price is there, and we are facing a lot of challenges. What should be the base price of any inventory across the different properties, and then we have to build our own algorithm that how the prices should be driven by. There are two different parameters. One is the market on which the prices are dependent. One is the inside inventory or occupancy on which the prices are driven by. So these are two complex parameter, which is depending on the external and internal parameter, and then we have to combine and build our own algorithm so that the prices can be increased based on the requirement or the supply or the demand which is generating in the market. And that will help you to increase the 10% overall prices and the revenue and the profit margin. And this is very complex problem, because what happens, all the OTAs and travel agents which are there, they can give the discount, they can reduce the prices, but they cannot increase the prices from the base price of any of the hotel industry. And setting the base price is a complex problem for anything, right? So many big companies have invested heavily with the consulting firm to set the algorithm that we have to build our own, and to set that we increase the prices and revenue. So that's the one play around to just the same inventories, everything is same, but just having the right strategy to increase the prices and having the better revenue.
What about you?
Sure. So we developed a product. No CTO, no CEO wants to do the penetration test of their organization every day, or every minute, every hour, right? Fortunately for us, since we are in cybersecurity, there is change which happens almost twice a day. And post every change, you need to do a pen test. What we developed was pen test on demand, right? It is because any CEO is concerned about what is the next hacking attempt which will happen on my organization, what is the goodwill or reputational loss which will happen, right? So what we did was we using this product, a CEO or a CTO or a CISO, he can get a daily report, hourly report, right, on what are the risks which are available for their companies on publicly exposed IPs. Right. So that is the innovative platform which we developed, been used quite well, and also few of my team members, they feel relaxed, because even now they can enjoy chips and a glass of Coke while they are working.
Perfect. So, what a panel it would be if you don't talk about Gen AI, right? So it will be not a tech panel anymore. So, so guys, first, what are your views on how disruptive this Gen AI would be? And what do you think the area it can have an impact, and the challenge that you think it poses in your specific organization?
The way we operate, we basically operate, again, as an orchestrator, right from the factory's doorstep to the end consumer's door, right? And there are about 9-10 stakeholders who are involved in this end-to-end journey. Now, I personally feel that AI or any applications of Gen AI or perhaps even agentic for that matter, though it's very, very nascent, very, very young, and I'm going to perhaps steal words of my co-founder that it has to be human assisted, and it cannot perhaps go ahead and tell you that how to make those decisions. It has to be human assisted. But definitely I think, like I said, that since there are so many stakeholders and there are so many workflows which are monotonous in nature, time consuming, which is basically nothing but perhaps putting together a set of documents, putting together a set of compliances, checklists, etc. I think when you bring in this to perhaps improve the productivity of one of the executives who does this perhaps 8 to 10 hours a day, you make I think that's where perhaps not disruption but transformation comes from, because you are making a change in someone's life who's been doing this through and through. So I think as long as it comes and aids in, and I always believe in one thing, that as long as it's leading to a fight between your emotions and logic, and as long as your emotions win to some extent, I think it's definitely transforming to a large extent. So yeah, that's the view.
In our case, we are using it heavily, right? So two parts, like there are internal customers and external customers. So for the internal systems, I think everywhere Gen AI is touching, be it making marketing collaterals, writing emails, writing code, which is the biggest parts, scripts, right, or development tools, and including onboarding of new people. So how do you onboard them and everything? So chatbots, internal chatbots, everything is moving to Gen AI, and we have seen performance increase, right? And what he was mentioning, that we have to be careful what we can use, what we cannot use, right? So where the servers are, and as we also talked about, that there's a company which has come in, Nesa.ai, which is trying to build those things as well here, right? So we are doing something internally which is very, very good in terms of bringing in efficiencies. From an external set of customers, the places we are using is a very standard one, which is like a chatbot and human interface and those kind of things. We have not gone to a stage where personalization and other things will work. So I think that is the stage that we want to go to in future. Whether it will come very soon in 6 months or 1 year, we have to see. But it's going to have a lot of energy impact, a lot of cost impact, and we have to see whether that will really help. And we also talked about that we work with village women as well. And there's a GSG group, and we have seen that those women are more comfortable talking to the phone than by doing some things on the phone, right? So there we have seen some impact that is happening. So we are using it through and through for internal efficiencies. Externally, we are still to go about and see.
I think as Sumit mentioned, right, multiple departments has been using the Gen AI to optimize their work process, right? As marketing is using a lot, same the customer experience, which I shared the example that in last 1 year, we have not hired any single person in the customer experience department. The same team is operating 25 properties and 100 properties. So that's the benefit the tools and technology is offering, that the same teams can use the automation technology and a lot can be done. Same in the tech department, the same developers now can build the same product which used to take 10 days, now it can be built in 2 days, right? And we can go live as soon as possible, considering all security aspect also. Right? Because we understand the security concern is always there, right? And we have to comply with that one, because the attacks are much faster than the previously. We launch and the attacks will start happening over there. So you have to be very cautious in that one. But yeah, the development, the execution has been much faster. And we are seeing the era of micro teams and micro startups kind of thing, right? We don't need big teams now in any of the operation, any of the department, right? And if there is a big teams, then there's an issue in terms of the execution operations, right? Small teams can do great outcomes in terms of the using the technology, and we can see great impact in business by using all these technologies.
Okay, so I'm not against using Gen AI, but Gen AI should be used in the right spirit, right? So my recommendation is isolate the environment, don't use it in your production environment, right? Use Gen AI in an isolated environment. Use it for any data which can be published publicly, because nothing in this world comes for free, right? Make sure whatever you are asking for free, they are taking away your data. Data is an oil, and you value your data once it gets leaked. Also follow regulations. Like NIST has come up with a beautiful standard. Even if you want to use Gen AI, right, have those controls rightly been set up in computer system. In the closed environment which you are using chat GPTs or any other open AI tools. Make sure you are following the controls which are being set in ISO 42001. So what is this ISO 42001 is at present an only third-party auditable certification for any AI-related process and products. So they have beautifully drafted certain controls. No need to go for certification, but implement these controls.
Yeah, sure.
Just if you note, still it is all, when you talk about AI, everybody refers to chat GPT, OpenAI as AI tools, right? It's like noodles near Maggie, right? So they have been able to do that. And what we need to bring it out is that AI is much more than that. And
I think that's one thing that we don't realize, and as I speak to the most of the CXOs, I realize that for them, like a chat GPT is equal to AI. If my team can do prompts, we are AI enabled. That's like really like the 2 or 3% of the entire AI. AI is like a very, very, very strong, very powerful. And what I really believe that, there can be a lot of different things about AI and fear and everything else. But this is one technology that will make people and organizations insanely productive. Right now, just because everyone is at a nascent stage, so we don't know the difference, but maybe in about 12 months or 15 or 18 months, you will see a dramatic difference between the companies who have adopted AI and who have not adopted AI. And of course, there's a way to adopt AI, keeping everything else in line. And that is, you're right, Sumit, that they don't really get that this is, ChatGPT is not AI for sure. Now, I have time for one more thing, and I want you to really highlight, what do you think has been your biggest challenge in the adoption of either technology or a Gen AI? What do you think has been your biggest challenge for you to roll it out, or for customers or internal employees to adapt, whichever way you are looking at it?
So I'll start. So two things, I think. One, it's about identifying the right use case, right? And you talked about it earlier as well. Are we able to identify the right use case which will finally lead to a business outcome, right? So that is always a challenge. Also, all these tools are not integratable at all stages. So, for example, we use Google, and we, let's say, go with Copilot, which is Microsoft owned. Now, it's very difficult to bring in that license, integrate with your ecosystem, and then do it. So sometimes you would not choose the best one, but you would choose the one which is best suited for your environment as well. So, and there are so many options available, right? So you have to see what is easily integratable, what is the best business use case. And what we have suffered here is, in the learning journey, is that we have chosen some things, taken too much time to adopt them, have committed that we're going to use this, then we have reverted back. So those kind of things have happened in the past. What I would say is, whenever you're going for new technology, try to go for tier 4, tier 5, tier 3 services. Your tier 1, tier 2 comes later. So if it's your business use case, first start with the old tech, use this new tech for a different one, see if it integrates well into the system, get it passed through information security, regulators and everything, then push it to your main system. But that slows us down. As a team, it slows us down. So we are slower than the world that way. So we have to see how to balance it out.
Reading somewhere, and kind of, it says that 91% of all changes which you see in technology is driven by customers, right? So now the problem is, when the customer comes up with a use case, he comes up with it in his own environment. That what can we do perhaps from a technology perspective? What can we do as a partner perspective to aid to improving that business process, or perhaps bringing in more advantages in terms of cost, etc. Now the problem is, when you look at that rhetoric and you start building the technology in-house, and Sumit rightly said that perhaps there has to be a lot of semblance in terms of where do you start building it. Does it impact your core business processes, or is it perhaps something more tertiary and you can build there and move slow on and so forth. The external environment, and I may say that with a pinch of salt, is not extremely friendly in terms of when you build that tech and you are going ahead and looking at its adoption perhaps with regulators and etc. coming into the picture. For example, I'll just share an anecdote. Uh, we work on an ERP which largely integrates to the customs, ice gate, etc., which helps us processing data, etc. Now, in the festive season of October, November, December last quarter, the overall peak volumes in terms of imports increased. Now, what that did was that brought the entire system down at customs, and they asked perhaps the company which had built out this ERP that please slow down in terms of how you are sending in your connects because it's leading to a logjam. Now, while we want to be a 1 trillion economy in terms of exports, we want to grow fast, the question is the infrastructure which is around us and at the speed with which most of the organizations today with large global ambitions are building, can we match that somewhere? And perhaps until and unless we don't arrive at that sweet point between the both, I think some speed at some end will definitely be hurdled. And I think that's one of the larger challenges in terms of building out, in my perspective.
We are talking about AI and new technology, but still the many shops in India still operate the old way, and we are present across 80 locations, and some of the outskirts in Bhatnagar or Shimla or Manali, where our hostler still has to purchase the grocery from the local store, and they'll still give the handwritten bills to you, right? And it's very difficult to scan and convert that bill into digital one and translate exactly what data they are putting out. So still getting the right data from the ground to a system is still a complex problem, and still needs some time for India level to solve. Maybe in metro it is resolved at where we have the proper invoicing, but at physical level still there's an issue in terms of the getting the data where you feed the data right to the system, and then your system can understand and analyze the data in a better way. Second thing, Dibyanshu mentioned that the customer drives the innovation, right? And customer expect everything needs to be very fast, right? Everything what they want in a single click. But sometimes, depending on industry, multiple data points are required to start the processing. For NBFC or financial, you need proper KYC to start the accounts, anything. Same for us, any person come as per the government compliances, we need to do the KYC. Before KYC, the hotel industry or as per regulated, there is a mandatory KYC process there. But people are reluctant to give the data. They don't want to give data, but there is a compliance, right? And they start fighting with the ground team, right? So people still need some time to change and adapt with things in terms of how the evolution is happening. We are talking about AI and new technology, but still people are there who are ready to change and adopt all the technology still there.
It is very much required and it is very much necessary that business teams and few intelligent end users, they should be involved in decision making of what is required to be the output of any AI solution, right? Because end users and business team, they are the right people to know what is the best use case, and any AI solution is useless until and unless you have a clean data, right? Current problem statement is there is lot of repeated data. We have a habit of saving a single document multiple times at multiple locations, right? Also, the required tables or the required structure needs to be present. See, because a solution provider will come up with his own solution, but his solution needs to map with the data structure which is part of our organization. Business users are the right people who are able to fulfill these needs and who are able to give the right recommendations. So it is not only the responsibility of the tech team, but also business to be involved while selecting any AI.
I think I've always seen in terms of, just speaking on what you guys said, identification of the use case as a right identification has been the primary reason for the success or failure of any project. Because if you pick up a wrong use case, you can put any best technology behind it, it won't really give you the right purpose. Second, I've also seen, what you said, that most of the AI implementations, typically what I've seen is being passed on to the CTOs. And whenever I talk to a CEO or a board, they say, okay, yeah, this is my CTO, he will take a look at that. And I always put a stop there, that if AI cannot be held by CEO himself or sponsored by the CEO's office, technology cannot lead that battle. Of course, they're a big enabler. They will get involved in the right stage. But if the CEO is not involved, because it's a business stuff, it is not a tech mandate. It's a mind shift change that is happening if you're trying to do a Gen AI. And I think most of the businesses really are trying to figure that out. And to what, what you guys have been saying is, what we have observed is that, to implement in AI, it's not about the tools. Tools come in at some point in time. It's about the process. A lot of times you have to re-transform your whole process. It's not the same process being automated. Then is your data readiness, like you're talking about. Data is clean, unclean. Though Gen AI can still handle structured, unstructured data both. But of course, the cleaner the data, the better. It's like garbage in will always give you. Yeah. Garbage in will be garbage out, right? I mean, the reason why Grok could use slangs because it was trained on Twitter data. So that's a live example of how relevant the data is. And the third, which most of the time get missed, is the people readiness. A lot of times there's a lot of anxiety in people about Gen AI. Will they lose jobs? Will they not use jobs? Right? And to what Dibyanshu was saying that, and Sumit, you also said, AI is going to augment them. They're going to support them, augment. If you put it like an augmentation project, it's always great. But if you say, no, we're going to replace you, they have a lot of fear around that one. So how ready are people? If they're not trained well enough, it will not work. And fourth, like I always say and think, and you also guys said that, the role AI is going to play. Now, AI is not like a supermaster. They're like, typically in our framework, we have 6 roles. AI can either be an assistant, it can be a collaborator, it can co-create with you, it's a decision maker. So be very clear what role you want really the AI to play. Otherwise, you will not really hit off the pilot to a successful thing. So guys, I don't know, maybe we have time for 1 or 2 questions. In case if you guys have any questions for the panelists you want to ask, otherwise, anyways, I have a lot of questions anyways. In case if you guys want to have anything, the panelist, okay? All right, so that's it. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for the wonderful time, for the great panel.